waiting for. So let's proceed. So we look at the dividend policy. So when they say dividend policy, what you need to know about this dividend policy is an interesting topic. It's a straightforward topic. If you put mind that you want to know it, that what is secret about this dividend policy that they are talking about. You know, the logic behind it is that when a company make a profit, say company make profit, company make a profit, let's say 45 million. So when a company make a profit of what? 45 million. So the board of director will need to determine the level of profit. You know, when they made this profit, do you get my point now? So the board of director need to determine, they just plan and determine the level of profit that will be paid to what? To dividend equity holders. That is, those that the equity holder of that company, the board of director will determine that what level of dividend are we going to pay to them. And even though if they now determine the level of profit that will be paid to them, not only that, they will now say what are the ways that the dividend is going to be taken. What way is going to be taken? So number one is that they will look at this profit that we make. Is either we should whether it should be issued in such a way that the dividend should be paid now, or maybe they should just take that money back to the business. That is the mission of what? Mission of the board of director. When the company make profit, this profit I'm talking about, it is the profit after tax, after they pay the tax. So the remaining money, the board of director will now look at it that should we pay dividend? And even though if they now say, okay, they have two things in mind. Is either to pay dividend to the what? To the equity holder, or that money, they should just plug it back to the business. That's what they have in mind. So, but I want you to understand that a stable dividend policy, when they said a stable, something that is constant, a stable dividend policy is expected to what's it called? To lead to high.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir.
Hello. Okay, so his network. Hope you can hear me. So
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know so where do you hear it from before the network? Which exactly place that I stopped before the network? But no issue. So as I was saying, when the company now make that profit, the board of director we sit together and determine the level of profit that is to be what paid as dividend to equity holder, and also the way the dividend is to what is to take. So what they are trying to look there is that once the money is available, like the profit after they pay the tax, you just think as if, oh, can we pay dividend, or we should just take this money back to the business. That is the mission of what the board of director about dividend policy. But you should also note that a stable dividend policy is expected to lead to higher share price. Do you get my point now? A stable what? A stable dividend policy. So if a dividend policy is stable, obviously it will be what? Expected to lead to higher share price. And then all these things that you see that they will be mentioned, dividend, and the dividend policy, definitely you must understand why it's like that. Another one is that the objective of the dividend policy should something that need to be what? Maximize the shareholders return. That's the objective of what? The dividend policy. So the objective of the dividend policy is to what? Is to maximize the shareholders return. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the objective of what? Of the dividend policy is to what? Is to maximize the shareholders return, so that the value of its investment is maximized. So when the objective is to maximize their shareholders return, then the value of their investment will be also what? Will be also maximized. And then we have two type of returns. We have two type of returns under what? The dividend policy. Number one is that we have what is called dividend, and we also have what is called capital gain. This type of what? Two type of what? Returns. Two type of what we call the component of returns. So this component of return, we have dividend and what? And capital gain. But there's certain thing that you need to note. You must take note of that when you are trying to look at or checkmate. If anybody asks you that, what do you understand by dividend policy? You must take note of certain things. What are those things that I want you to take note is that the higher the dividend paid, when you pay higher dividend, obviously the lower the retention. When you are paying higher dividend, your retention will be what? Will be lower. If I say retention, what I'm talking about is called what? Retained earnings. Retained earnings. So the higher the dividend pay, the lower the retention. Take note of that. The higher the dividend pay, the lower the retention. Any question before we move on? Hello?
Aye.
Any question before we move on? Which part is not clear before we move on? Should we move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Look at this point that I said you should take note. The higher the dividend paid, the lower the retention. So if we now move to calculation, you will see the practical of this theoretical something that we are saying now. The higher the dividend pay, the lower the what? The return. You are going to see all of them. That's what I said. You need to understand the topic itself before we can think of how we want to calculate it. You understand? You must understand the topic itself. So these two things that I mentioned, they serve the same purpose. And in the sense that both statements is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. Both statements is to maximize what? The shareholders' wealth. If I said the higher the dividend paid, the lower, what's it called? The lower the retention. So the two statements serve the same purpose. And in the sense that it has to do what? In the sense that both statements maximize the shareholders' wealth. So for instance, let me add one point to it so that you understand it clearly. For instance, if the company retain profit, then assuming I have the profit that we have, 45 million, and I retain the profit. How much? How much do you think we can retain from this money? I want to use it to give you, to create a scenario for you. If we make profit of 45 million and we retain profit, how much do you think we should retain? Hello, I want everybody to participate, please. It will
5 million.
for you.
5 million.
5 million, okay.
Can I?
If we retain 5 million, we make profit of what? 45 million, and we retain 5 million. It means that the 40 million can use it to do what? To pay the dividend. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So that
yes.
5 million that we retain, look at it, oh. That is what I said. That's what I said. The two statements that I mentioned that time, who can remind me which statement I'm talking about? I want to know, maybe you are following. Which statement I'm talking about?
The higher the dividend paid, the lower the retention.
Okay, the lower the retention. Okay, that two statements that I mentioned that time, I said the statements serve the same purpose because in the sense that the both statement will maximize the shareholders' wealth. And I said if we make profit of 45 million and I said we should retain 5 million, then the remaining 40 million, we should use it to pay dividend. That 5 million, we are retaining it so that we can use it for finance expansion. Let's assume the company want to finance a project. We can use that 5 million to finance that project. Can you see that it's the statement that I mentioned serve the same purpose? The higher the dividend paid, the lower the what? The retention. And at the same time, the two of them serve the same purpose because both is to what? Is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. Because if we pay dividend, obviously the shareholders' wealth is maximized. That 5 million, if you use it for expansion of business, obviously the company will see profit again. Do you see the logic? Hello?
Aye.
Is this thing clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Is it that I'm talking to one person? Okay. If it is cleared, no problem, then we move on. Another thing that we can also discuss here is that what are the issues? What are the issues in determining dividend decision? Issue in determining dividend decision. You can say issue, I can slash it to be, I can say factors or issues in determining dividend decision. Number one is that the factors that determine dividend decision, we can say ability to pay. Ability to pay, or we say liquidity. This is number one. So what I'm trying to explain here about the ability to pay or liquidity is that it will serve as what is it called? Unable to pay. You get it now? The company will be unable to pay. That's what I said. The factors of what? The factor that determine the dividend decision. So the company will be what? Unable to pay dividend. But if we say company is unable to pay dividend, what does that mean? It means that there's no cash, there's no available of cash to do so. Do you get it now? There's no available of cash to do it. So if we say we want to pay dividend, like a dividend decision that the company wants to decide on how the dividend will be paid, it is when there's a money before you can say, oh, we have money to pay this dividend. That's why we say liquidity or inability to what? To pay. Inability to pay. So the company will be unable to pay what is it called? Dividend, if there is no cash available to do that. And invariably, some company will just go by borrow money. They will just go by what? They will just go by way of what? Borrow money from bank. They will take a bank overdraft. They can take a loan note in order to what? In order to pay the dividend. Are we there? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So that is number one. Number two is that we talk about loan covenant, or loan redemption. You can say loan covenant or loan redemption. Loan covenant or what? Loan redemption is also one of the factors that determine the dividend decision. So when we say loan covenant or loan redemption, is that if the company borrowed money from bank and that money that they borrow, do you get my point now? Imagine if company borrow 40 million from bank and it is due for payment, and we have 45 million naira that is available to distribute to equity holder as dividend, and the money that we borrow, the due date is lapsed that we need to pay. We now pay 40 million. What is the leftover? What is the leftover?
Nothing.
5 million.
So this 5 million, it is not enough to pay. Can you see now? That's why the loan redemption. Redemption means when you repay. Redemption. When you repay. Redemption is just like a gain. Do you get it now? So when you repay your loan and there's no availability of cash to pay the dividend, is also part of what? Part of the issues or part of what? The factors that can determine the dividend decision. So in exam, if they ask you that, what are the factors that can determine the dividend decision, or what are the issues around determining the dividend decision, you should be able to know that one of them is what? Liquidity. One of them is the word loan covenant, or what? Loan, what's it called? Redemption. Are we there? Hello?
Yeah, hello. That's sweet.
Yes.
So another thing that we can also think of about the factors that determine it is what? Control. Control is also one of the factors that determine the dividend decision. So let's think of this. Let's look at it from this angle. When you pay higher dividend, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
When you
Yes.
pay higher dividend,
Yes,
and who is that person?
yes.
Let assume we have that person should move, please. Let assume we have 45 million. That person should move, please.
Madam Amalaga Shakirat, please mute.
So when we have 45 million naira as our profit after tax, and we pay a dividend payout, we pay, let's say, 40 million of dividend payout, 40 million. And the leftover, it is what? 5 million. And we want to finance a project. That worth 20 million. We want to finance a project that worth 20 million. Over to everybody. Do we have available funds to finance this project? Hello. Let's be class interactive so that you understand the rudiment of this topic.
Oh, no.
No.
So we don't have enough funds to finance it, right? Because the leftover is just 5 million. So because of this, because we don't have enough money to finance it, what will happen? What do you think will happen if truly we want to finance this project?
You have to borrow money.
We have to borrow
Money.
What again?
Can suspend paying the dividends.
No. As in, we don't want to suspend. We must pay that dividend, and we have leftover. You get my point? And the leftover is 5 million. But we want to finance a project of 20 million, and one person decided that we can borrow money. What again? That can be also source of fund to us.
We can gather the shareholders' dividend together.
So if we gather the shareholders' dividend, it's more or less that we borrow from them. That borrow money is already explained. It's either you borrow from bank or you are disturbing the shareholders again. Because when you disturb them, you collect money from them, you are still going to repay. So that one has catered. This borrowed money has catered for that. What other things?
You can sell more shares.
God
Issue
bless
shares,
you.
more
God
shares.
bless. That's what I'm expecting again. Issue new shares. Issue new shares. This is exactly what I am trying to link with this control. So when you do all this, you can lose control. You can lose control. You are the one that is control that business before. If you borrow money to a point that you are unable to meet the financial obligation, obviously you can lose control. It's simple as that. You get this logic? Hello?
Please explain
Yes,
that
sir.
side.
Yes. Yes.
Borrow money.
Where do you want me to explain again? Which side?
Where we borrow money to an extent that we lost control. So we
Okay,
can use new
okay.
shares to cover.
Let assuming we borrow money
Yes.
and we are unable to pay the financial obligation. We issue out shares to gather more money. You know, when we talk about group account that time, we said before you can control business, it is when you have 51% and above. Yes or no?
Yes, they can.
So immediately it means that you have already issued out 49% shares. So immediately you are trying to issue out 60%, or let's say you are the one issue out 51%. You've already lost control.
Okay.
Because for you to gain control, it is when you have 51% of the holding shares. So immediately you are issuing out shares to outsider, and the share that you are issuing out is about, let's say, 51. You are giving outsider 51, and you are taking 49. What does that mean? You've lost control. So it's part of the factors that determine the dividend decision. Is it clear?
Yes. Borrow money
I want you to understand this thing
it's clear.
very well. So it's not about it's not about cramming it at all. It's something that when they ask you, it will come if you understand what's it called, the rudiments around the topic.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Hello? Can we move on?
Yes, we can move on.
So another thing is that who is that person now?
Sorry, it's my environment though.
So number 4 is that we look at taxation. Taxation is also one of the key factors that determine the dividend decision. It's one of the issues that determine the dividend decision. So, for instance, look at this from this angle. When the shareholders, that is the majority of them, when they are in the bracket of higher income, you know, the level of our taxation is what? It is pay as you earn. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You get my point now. The level of our taxation, it is pay as you earn. So if the majority of the shareholders, if they are in a higher income bracket, what will happen? Obviously, they will pay higher tax, right? Hello?
Yes.
Now, and if they are paying higher tax, so these shareholders will now be running from that tax. they will now bring a suggestion. And this suggestion, they will just say they prefer to receive their returns in form of a capital profit. So when I say capital profit, they will be looking at it from the angle of, they will receive it from an angle of bonus. Do you get my point now? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
So,
Hello, we are here.
taxation, okay, taxation is also one of the key factors because they will be trying to run from tax. They will now say instead of giving them the dividend because of the tax they will pay on the dividend. Do you get my point? So they will now look at it from the angle of prefer to receive the return in form of what? Capital profit. And that capital profit, we call it what? Bonus, such as bonus. So as a result of this, we say taxation is also one of what? One of the factors that determine the dividend decision. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
It's clear. It's clear.
Okay, so let's look at one again. Inflation. So inflation is also one of the key issues that determine the dividend decision. So this thing is a straightforward. When we said inflation, what we are trying to look at from the inflation is that the investor or the shareholders, they will be looking at it. They will be looking at it from the angle of if there is inflation, the level of inflation, if the inflation is high, they will be looking at it from the angle of at least what they will be collect should go along with the inflation, the current inflation in the country. You get my point now? Because imagine if you are paying a dividend of, let's say, one person is collecting 5 million when there's no inflation, and at the end of the day, if peradventure the inflation just increase, so the investor, the shareholder, will be requesting for more so that they will be go along because of the inflation rate. So if they keep on doing this, hello.
Hi.
So if they keep on doing this, then before the company will say you want to pay a dividend, these are one of the criteria that they need to look into before they can make that such decision. That's why we call it the factors that will determine the dividend decision. So they will the board of director will look at this level of inflation that, oh, hey, we have to think of, we cannot just say we want to pay dividend. So let us look at the inflation rate. You get my point? So that the shareholders will have what is called purchasing power. But if they are not considered this inflation, probably the person that is collecting dividend of 5 million, when they declare the dividend and the inflation occur, obviously their purchasing power will be very low. Is it clear? Hello? Is my network not okay again? Hello?
Yes, we are here. We are hearing.
Okay. So these are the major area. That we also need to look into. We have a lot that we can think of when we are talking of the factors around the what's it called? Around the dividend decision. We have a lot that we can also think of. We can also think of. We can also think of. So, and having said that, let's now look at the theory. Theory. If I said theory, what I'm referring to as, we call it what? The dividend theory. Yeah, the theory of what? Dividend. Theory of dividend. That's where I'm actually talking about. Theories of what? Dividend. Are we tired?
Not at all.
Hello.
No.
Theory of dividend. So number one theory of dividend, we call it irrelevant theory. Dividend of what? Irrelevant theory. It is what we call it DIT. D-I-I-T. DIT, so that you remember in exam condition. DIT. D-I-I-T. We call it dividend. Hello.
Hi.
So dividend irrelevant. Irrelevant theory. Number two, we call it this. This, we call it dividend. Dividend relevant, but we say dividend supremacy. That supremacy means relevant. If I call this one irrelevant, then this one is relevant. Supremacy theory. Supremacy theory. You get my point now? We call it DIT and DIST. DIT is what? Dividend irrelevant theory, and DIST is called dividend supremacy theory. Please relax, sit back, listen attentively to understand these two theories. Listen attentively, please, to understand these two theories, because I hope that in exam condition we are going to see something about the theory. Please understand it very well. Understand it very well. That is what I said. You have to sit back, relax. If you have any juice, take it there, be drinking it so that you'll be comfortable to receive the lecture. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. Because when we move to the application, the practical application of it, you now be understand everything that we are saying since. You understand the reason why this is like this is like this. So let's look at the first theory, which is DIT. What did I call this DIT once again?
Dividend
Hello?
of irrelevant.
Hello, are you saying what?
Dividend of
Is that what?
relevant theory. Dividend of relevant theory.
I said
I can't hear you, please. One person is talking.
Dividend of relevant theory.
Yes, I know. One person said something again. One person is
I
saying
said,
something.
are you sharing your screen or what?
Yeah, I share my screen. Hope my screen is visible. Others.
We didn't see your screen.
No, we
That's
can't
all.
see it too.
Since when?
Since you got back from the network issue.
From the beginning, I read that from
Me, you should call my attention now. I've said a lot, though. Hope you are jotting it. I've said a lot now.
Yes,
you are
we've
jotting.
written them.
Me, I don't know. Anytime you didn't see my screen, you have to call my attention. You can see I've put a lot. So another thing that you also need to call my attention. Immediately, you cannot hear me again because it's not easy for me to be going back to check my network. You can call my direct line, but you have to confirm from others first whether they can hear me, so that if others can hear me, obviously it's from your own end. But if you communicate with others and they say they can't hear me as well, then you have to call my direct line so that I will go back and check. Maybe my network is not good. Hope it's clear.
Yes.
So thank you, Madam Aminat. Thank you for the observation that you call us back. I don't know that my screen is not actually visible. Hope it's visible now.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, thank you.
So before we move to this theory, what do you want to ask concerning what we've explained so far?
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
The inflation part.
Okay.
Does it mean that if there is inflation, the shareholders will expect more dividend than the usual? But what are you trying to explain?
That is why shareholders will be thinking of it because of the purchasing power. That's why the board of directors also need to factor that person should move, please. That is why, it's something that me as a person, if I'm collecting salary of, let's say, 20,000 naira, and the fuel price increase, I'll be expecting that, maybe from the next month, my company should do needful. Whether they should give us palliative, whether they should increase or give us transport allowance, that's what I will have in mind. But at the same time, the company itself should also be planned for it. That is why it's one of the factors that determine the dividend decision. When they say decision, before you make decision, that's the meaning. Before you make decision, they are not talking about dividend pay now. They said the factor that determine the dividend decision. What factor will determine how the dividend will be paid? So the board of directors is what they need to sit with. Hope it's clear.
Yes.
Yes,
Hope it's clear. Hello.
Please, I have a question, please.
Go ahead, please ask your question.
My question is based on that factor that determines dividend decision.
Okay.
Can there be a kind of agreement between the board of directors?
Agreement in such a way, in which sense? That want to be paid.
Pertaining to the dividend.
Okay, now.
Can there be a kind of agreement?
The dividend, mute yourself. Let me answer your question. The dividend you are collecting, it is based on the number of shares that you acquire. And if the company declare that we are paying 2% of dividend based on the number of shares, and if eventually there's inflation, before that dividend will be declared, they can sit together, the board of directors will sit together and look at how they are going to do it. It's either to increase that 2% to 3%. It is not one person that will decide. That's why we call it the board of directors. They will sit at it and look from the angle of, let's consider this inflation because of the purchasing power of the equity holder or the shareholder. So let's increase this dividend that we want to declare. Let's increase it to 3%. That's the agreement And that agreement, it has to come from the board of directors. Is it clear?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so before we look at this theory, one thing came to my mind. Let me quickly link the reasons and the advantage. Reasons and let me link it. Reasons and advantage of the use of retained earnings. Let me link this before we move to theory. Retained earnings. I want to go back to my previous explanation. What is the meaning of retained earnings to a layman? If I say retained earnings, what does that mean? Anybody can answer me. I want that to be interactive.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
I said
Is the
retained
profit
earnings.
Retained earning is the profit that plug back to the business.
Okay, but don't use that word of plug back to business now, because we can retain it without plugging it back and say we want to use it to pay dividend.
Reserve.
Okay, good. I love that comment. You can say retained earning is a reserve or the money set aside. Do you get my point now? So we cannot say it is when you utilize it. Do you get my point now? Retained earning is your reserve. It is the money that you set aside. Although if you set it aside, it can be for purpose of something, whether to finance something, or whether to use it to pay dividend, or whether to use it to pay your debts. Do you get my point now? So retained earning, it is what is the money set aside. It's a reserve. God bless you. Now, that is why I quickly want to go back to link this with the reasons. What do you think would be the reasons for doing this? Based on my previous explanation, I want you to give me an answer.
Unforeseen circumstances.
Like what? Unforeseen circumstances is a grammar. I mean, I don't understand grammar. Do you get my point now? For somebody to understand the rudiment of when you say unforeseen circumstances is a grammar, but you have to link it properly to business.
Like inflation.
You are still not getting it well. Structure it very well. When you retain money, when you set aside money, what do you think would be the reasons? I've explained this in my previous explanation.
To strengthen the business.
God bless you, my brother. Expansion of what? Finance, of business. Strengthening, that's the word. Key word. Strengthening. This thing is not hard. Just understand it. Okay, what again?
I think at times, in order to reduce debits that we may have, the company
In
may
order
have.
to do what?
To reduce the debits or any outstanding the company may have.
Don't talk too much. You are in line. So you can see that it's not something that is hard. You get my point?
Okay.
For the purpose of what? Repayment of debt. I've explained this, obviously. For the purpose of what? Repayment of debt. That's what I said. No need of cramming anything. Once you understand everything, you will be bringing it to your head. What again? What do you think again? Even if it is just theory,
To
just
bring
not,
business back
it's okay.
to life. To bring business back to life in case of
To
liquidation.
bring business back to life. Okay, good.
Then,
To
in
bring
case of
business
the
back to
rest,
life. But
in case
let
of
me help
liquidation,
you.
yes.
Let me
Yes,
help
you
you.
know that.
Hello,
Yes,
please mute
it's a money
yourself.
set.
One person is talking. Unless you want to answer a question. One person said to bring business to life. So let me now help you to bring it, to turn it, or to fine-tune it to professional way. It's safeguard. It's safeguard. Safeguard. It will safeguard the company for loss of control. Loss of control. Use this word. It will safeguard the company loss of control. Because if you retain money, no need of going out and look for money to borrow. Do you get the logic? Hello? It's my network.
Hi.
Okay.
Yes, we are with
So
you.
it safeguard the company for loss of what? Control. So if you have retained earnings, no need of saying you want to go and borrow money or you want to issue a new share. Because if you issue a new share, it can lead to loss of control.
Control.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay. Hope you understand it now.
Yes,
Or we are
with you.
tired. If you are tired, tell me.
We are with you.
Okay, so now let us now go back the what's it called? The theory. Let's go back to the theory. Let me take it down to next. Let me take it down here. Theories. Of dividend. So who can give us number one? The acronym. Just give me the acronyms.
DIIT.
And the DIT?
Yes, DIT.
What does that mean?
Dividend irrelevant theory.
Okay, dividend.
Irrelevant theory.
Irrelevant theory. Okay, what was the second one?
Disk.
Dist.
Disk.
Dist.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Dividend supremacy theory.
Dividend.
Supremacy theory.
Dividend supremacy
theory.
Okay, so hope we are fine. Then let us now go back to what all this theory is all about. That person should move to. Is the person traveling or what? So let's look at are we set?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we are with you.
Okay, please, I'm still saying it, unless if you understand all this theory very well before you can say you know this topic. Please, it's very, very important. So, this theory that you see, I said one is what? Dividend irrelevant theory. One is talking about supremacy theory. What's another name I call supremacy theory?
Relevant
What is another
theory.
name? Huh?
Relevant,
Okay, relevant theory. So one is saying, see, the logic is very simple if you follow me. What this theory is talking about is that one is saying dividend is not relevant. That's the meaning. One is saying dividend is relevant. That's the meaning. Now, in the world of no tax, please take note of all these things, please. In the world of no tax, I think you understand this grammar to a layman. When they say in the world of no tax, who can explain to me? Just to a layman, it's not something that is big. When I say in the world of no tax,
When no tax is being paid.
when what?
When one is not paying tax. When tax is not relevant.
So, but let's use this one as a basic word. Hey, who is that person? No, if you know that where you are is not okay, don't talk. Who is that person? In the word of no tax, let's use this word. In Yoruba adage, what does that mean? When they say word?
Owó téèyàn bá fi ògùn ṣe.
No. Sorry, I misspoke. As in, when we want to translate word in Yoruba, what is the meaning of word?
Word.
Àgbáyé.
Okay.
Àgbáyé, or let's say ayé. In the ayé tí a kì í sanwó orí. Do you get it now? In the word of no tax, ní ayé tí a kì í san tax.
Okay.
So the ayé yẹn, it is 1961.
Okay.
This
Era. You are talking of era.
Era, yes. This era of 1961, there is a man, we call it Modigliani. Just follow me, or you enjoy it, though. Modigliani and Miller. So when you see everybody that is mentioned, Modigliani and Miller, we call them M and M. So it means that in 1961, when Modigliani and Miller propound this theory, please listen attentively. It's something that is interesting. And I will now turn into application in such a way that we ask ourselves, which era is okay? Is it the era of this Modigliani or the era of another person? Is it clear? Hello?
No.
We are with you.
Okay. 1961, when Modigliani and Miller, that is they are the one propounded this theory in 1961. What Miller and Modigliani is talking about is that they believe that payment of dividend is not relevant at all. Look at it. That's the argument. They said payment of dividend. That why are you paying dividend now? Payment of dividend is not, look at that word, is not relevant. I want you to follow me, please. It's not relevant. In 1961, Modigliani and Miller, they are the one propounded this theory. Do you get my point now? So they said, in the world of no tax, payment of dividend is not relevant. But you should be able to ask them or ask me why, what is the belief of Miller and Modigliani before they say this thing. Do you get my point? Hello?
Yeah, with you.
Too. Hello.
If one person just say, oh, it's not relevant for company to pay salary. What is your are you going to fight the person, or you ask the person that why? Are you going to fight the person, or you ask the person why?
Why now?
Why? So it's the same thing that Miller and Modigliani is telling us that payment is not relevant. Payment of dividend is not relevant. That's what Miller and Modigliani tell us. And we now think of it that, oh, if Miller and Modigliani is saying this, what do you think could be the reason for them to say payment of dividend, it is not relevant? Miller and Modigliani believe that. They believe, I don't want you to cram anything, no, just understand it so that you can use it to do whatever that you want to use it for. Miller and Modigliani believe that the amount of dividend payout. Do you get my point now? You know, some people they will think that Miller and Modigliani are not doing the right thing, or what they are saying is not okay now. Why would you say they should not pay dividend to equity holder? And Miller and Modigliani, they have some belief. They believe that the payment of dividend payout, payment of dividend payout should, look at that word. I want you to understand. I want you to underline that word. Should is a clause there. Should, hey, see my pen. Should not affect. Look at that word. Should is a key clause. Should not affect. Do you get my point? Should not affect the company operation. The company operation should not affect what? The company operation in the long run. In the long run. So this is the belief of Miller and Modigliani, that if you are paying dividend to the shareholder, this dividend that you are paying shouldn't affect the company operation in the long run. Not that you pay dividend now, you now say the project that the company want to finance, you now begin to look for money, to borrow money, to issue share. Do you get my point? Now, this is the belief of what Miller and Modigliani in 1961, that payment of dividend is not relevant, because they believe that payment of dividend shouldn't what? Affect the company operation in the long run. Are you getting it? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir.
Any question? Any question before we proceed?
No question.
Others, any question before we proceed? Hello. Okay. So when we now try to marry, we are trying to marry this Miller and Modigliani theory with traditional theory. There's a traditional. When they say traditional theory, what does that mean? Who can try? When they say traditional theory, you know, this theory is not something that somebody proposed. It's a traditional. But when they say traditional theory, what does that mean?
What we met.
Hey, God bless you. God bless you. You've said it all. What we met. That is, it's just like when they said, oh, in Yoruba land, they used to prostrate. If you are doing wedding, that you want to marry, you understand? It is not something that you as a person that you propose. It is something that we met, that we need to prostrate. Do you get my point? That is why people used to call it traditional wedding, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this traditional theory is what we met. Fine. So what this traditional theory is talking about is that the traditional theory is actually, let us realize that the dividend is relevant. That's what the traditional theory is talking about. So this theory believes that dividend is what? Dividend is relevant. Dividend is relevant. Imagine when you believe that dividend is relevant and you now proceed and say, oh, this dividend is relevant to, and it will affect. Look at the word. It will affect
the company.
Yes, it will affect the price. Yeah, the price share. That is the company operation. It will affect the price share. It will affect the price share. So this is what we meant as traditional theory. So we believe that dividend is relevant. So when Modigliani and Miller in 1961, in the era of no tax, they are saying payment of dividend is not relevant. And they back it by saying, when you are talking about dividend payout, this one shouldn't affect the company operation in the long run. Don't say you want to pay dividend and at the end of the day, you are killing the business. That when you use all the money to pay dividend, we have 45 million and we have to pay 40 million of dividend, and the remaining 5 million cannot sustain the company to finance or to do business expansion. Do you get it now? So Modigliani and Miller now say, oh, the payment of dividend is not what? It's not relevant. It's not relevant because it shouldn't affect the company operation in the long run. And the traditional theory now believes that this payment of dividend is what? Is relevant, and it will affect the price share. Any question before we move on?
Yes.
Something dropped. Is it that one person want to ask question? Okay. Yes. One person raised hand. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Is the traditional theory same with the supremacy theory?
Okay. So when we talk about what's it called? What you just said now. Supremacy theory. Okay. So the supremacy theory is a relevant theory, but you know it is proposed and there's assumption to that. So when we get to what the Professor Walker, it's the Professor Walker that proposed that supremacy theory. It is different from traditional. Although Professor Walker is trying to support what traditional theory is talking about. That's why we said another name for supremacy theory is a relevant theory. Is it clear?
Okay.
Hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So if there's no question to ask, then we can look at what Miller and Modigliani is backing up their argument. M&M, Miller and Modigliani. Milan, if we are tired, let me know. So Miller and Modigliani and Miller further argue. They further argue again. You know, when you argue on something, you should be having evidence that will back it. So they further argue that profit after tax, which is PAT, profit after tax are to be, that's the argument, that is the profit after tax are to be what? Distributed. The profit after tax are to be what? Distributed as dividend. So who are they distributing it to?
Equity shareholder.
Yeah, has to be distributed to has to be distributed as dividend to shareholder. Sorry. Let me compose it well. Further, Miller and Modigliani further argued that profit after tax are to be distributed. Yes. They are not saying it. They are not purposely saying. They said, what was that? Okay. That they argued that profit after tax are to be what? Distributed. And when they mention this, that has to be distributed, you know, if anybody mention this kind of statement, we call it a what? It's a phrase. Do you get my point? Do you see that this statement is a complete statement or incomplete statement?
Incomplete.
Incomplete, because they are telling us that profit after tax are to be distributed. And what are they distributing it to? So because of this phrase, a further questioning now begin to surface that when you say profit after tax are to be distributed as what? They now said since dividend shareholder we prefer since dividend shareholder would suffer. Since dividend shareholder would suffer a proportionate since they will suffer a proportionate loss. Since they will suffer a proportionate loss in the form reduction, in the form of reduction in the form of, hope you can see the handwriting very well. Let me clean it.
We can see it.
Okay. In the form of reduction in the what's it called? Relative share. In the relative share. In the relative share. So now, although, let me put that on. Although the existing shareholder would gain. The existing shareholder would gain. Now, look at what Miller and Modigliani they are trying to tell us. They further argue that profit after tax are to be distributed, since dividend shareholder will suffer a proportionate loss in the form of reduction in relative share. Although the existing shareholder, what is the meaning of the existing shareholder that I'm trying to bring in here? What does that mean? Hello?
The existing shareholders are the old investors in the company.
Okay, so the existing shareholders would gain. You get my point? The existing shareholder would gain, but this dividend, the profit after tax are to be distributed, since the dividend shareholder will suffer a proportionate loss. So that is why Miller and Modigliani was saying that profit after tax has to be what? Distributed. So we cannot say we want to use the profit after tax to pay a dividend, and at the end of the day, the business will suffer in the long run. That is why they further argue that this profit after tax need to be what? Distributed. And Miller and Modigliani did not stop in the argument. They also pin out certain things in the argument. Miller and Modigliani further argue again. They further argue again. So what is their argument this time around? The argument is that if a retained earning is not in place, that's their further argument. So let's assume no retained earnings in place. No retained earnings. No retained earnings in place. Let's assume no retained earning in place. Before I will say something, what do you think it will happen? That's what the Miller and Modigliani was telling us. That they further argue again that let's assume no retained earning in place. What do you think it will happen?
The business will liquidate, sir.
No, it's not always that if there's no retained earning in place that business will liquidate. No. There's something that it will come in if there's no retained earning. If we don't have reserve, what do you think it will come in?
Borrow.
Good. That's what Miller and Modigliani was saying, that let's assume no retained earning in place. New shares, because they have to issue a new shares. Loan note is more like you borrow a long-term loan. Loan note, is it clear?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Would
It's
come
clear.
in. Would come in. This thing will come in. And if it's come in, it will come in to finance company project, right? To finance and what's it called? Internal investment. So because we want to invest and there's no retained earning, we don't have any reserve, then we have to borrow money or issue a new shares to finance
Normal.
an internal investment. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, it's clear, it's clear.
Yes.
And this finance that we are talking about, there is no what is it called? There's no doubt about it. When you don't have reserve, you have to look for external source, such as you borrow loan, issue a new shares. So if you want to if you don't want all this problem, because by doing all this you are giving yourself a problem, and this problem is about you are exposed to what?
Liquidation.
You are exposed to liquidation, or let me pull the word of you are exposed to risk. Do you get my point now? You are what? You are exposed to risk. Because when you borrow to the point that you cannot repay, you are exposed to risk. And that part of risk is what you just mentioned as what? Liquidation. And Miller Modigliani now said, instead of exposing yourself to risk, Miller Modigliani said, instead of exposing yourself to risk, what do you think we are going to do to finance this internal investments? Over to you guys. Hello.
That means there should be
Reserve.
retained earnings.
God bless you. That's the answer. That's what I want to hear. That's what Miller Modigliani was saying, that instead of you to do what? To expose yourself to risk by issuing a new share, by borrowing loan, then why are you disturbing yourself? Kuku do what? Kuku retain earnings. Hello. So Miller Modigliani said, in order to avoid all these hope you are getting this, all these supplementary issues, in order to avoid all these supplementary issues, then a retained earnings must be in place. Retained earnings must be in place. Retained earnings must be in place. Hope is clear. Hope the explanation is clear. Any question before we move on?
Clear. No question.
Others, any question?
No question.
Are we sure? Are we sure that we understand it thoroughly?
Okay, now sorry. My question is that this traditional theory and this M&M, is it theory?
Yes.
Is
Miller
it under the relevant theory, the DIT?
No,
Or is it a separate topic on its own?
M&M,
So
M&M, it is irrelevant theory.
M&M is irrelevant. That is DIT, right?
Yeah, that is DIT. Yeah, DIIT, DIT.
Okay.
Hope it's clear.
Okay. How about the traditional? Is it like third one of the
That traditional theory, according to what Mr. Kamal said, it is what we met. You understand? It nobody proposed it. But that one is just telling you that the payment of dividend is relevant. And it will still affect price of shares. So it's different from
is different from this and this.
Yes, they are different. So the thing is that in recent, we only have two theories of dividend because we believe on the one that was proposed, the one that was propounded. So when you are just trying to give examiner different theories of dividend, but if examiner is telling that list any, do you get it now? It's different from the main theories of dividend. So the main theories of dividend is what? It is DIT and DIST. Is it clear?
Okay, so traditional is just like on its own.
Yeah, so traditional theory, it is something that we met before. All these people, they also met it before they are trying to propound their own theory.
Okay.
Is it clear? There's a lot of things that Miller Amodigilani is trying to look at that I don't want you guys to be bored and maybe tired. I will just skip it. So when I still have more time to look around this topic again, I'll definitely throw more light on what Miller Amodigilani, because a lot. I remember when Miller Amodigilani was saying that if the company with investment opportunity, then assuming the company, or do you want me to continue? Are you enjoying it or you are tired?
Yeah, enjoying it, so continue.
Okay, no problem. Others, am I talking to one person?
Yes.
So we should continue, right?
Yes, let's ride on.
Okay. Because my plan is that I want you to understand this topic before I move to calculation part of it. Because if you don't understand it, when we are doing the calculation, it will just look as if you are cramming it. There's no doubt about it. But when you understand the rudiments of that topic itself, you should be able to know that if they say they are calculating this, they are calculating that. You should be able to know the reason why it is like that. Is it clear?
Yes.
Hello? You can continue,
It's
right?
clear. I have a question, please.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Please, my question is, I think in the examination we are supposed to discuss the theory. Is it just this two theory you are going to explain as you have explained it?
That is what I said. It's not depend on how the examiner is asking the question. If the examiner says, explain any theory that you know, you can explain traditional theory, you can explain irrelevant theory and relevant theory. And I remember again, what's that one? Active theory. Active theory. So active theory is another area of theory of dividend. So that one is, don't worry, when we get there. So let me just take you around the active theory. It's just like when you are doing what is called prioritization. When you are doing prioritization, you are doing priority of something. When you are prioritized, it's just like if you have 4 million, and you say, oh, this 4 million that this company is having, let us prioritize it. That's what they mean by active theory. You are trying to prioritize what you have before a capital project take the money from you. So the company need to budget, to plan that this money, this 45 million that we have, don't forget that we have to pay dividend of 20 million. We have to pay the money that we are owing back. You understand? That's only by active theory. Active theory is talking about when a company is putting priority. They are putting priority. Do you get my point now? Before they will commit the available money that they have, before they will commit it to capital projects.
IB.
Point. Hello.
IB.
Hello, go ahead, please.
Sorry. The M&M, is it the one that explained the relevant and the irrelevant?
No. M&M is talking about irrelevant. Irrelevant.
That is it. So that means you've not explained the relevant part of it.
Yes, I've not explained supremacy.
Okay.
I've not explained supremacy. That's what I said.
M&M is.
Is that what?
I was only consolidating that M&M is the name of the propounder of that theory.
Yes. M&M is the propounder of that DIIT.
Well, please, can you please try to expand more on the active theory?
So what I mean about, I don't want to go to active theory now. I will still go there, but I'll just give you the clue that I give you an example that if your company is having 50 million naira, don't forget that 50 million naira, there's a plan in it. They know that they will pay salary. They know that they will pay the people that they are owing. They know that maybe they still have one business that they want to invest on. So that's what they mean by active theory. So active theory is just telling you that when company is putting priority before they will commit that money to another thing, they have to put priority that, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that on priority basis, that this one is a priority, let's do this. This one is priority. Because if they don't do that, the money, they will just use it for another thing. And at the end of the day, they will now suffer if they want to use the money for something else again. So that's what they mean by active theory. Is it clear?
Okay, thank you.
So we have a lot. But just that there's a one that is key relevant to us. So that's what I said. The major one that is relevant to us, it is that the one for irrelevant theory and also the one for supremacy theory, because supremacy theory fall under relevant theory. Just that it now depends on what the examiner can say. What is the belief? Discuss the belief of Milan, Modigliani and Milan. You should be able to know what Modigliani and Milan is talking about. The examiner can tell you that what is the main difference between the Modigliani and Milan theory and the Professor Walter and the Gordon theory? That one is called supremacy. Can we continue? Or you are tired? If you are tired, let me know. So
that Gordon theory is what you are you refer to as supremacy theory.
Yes, that's the supremacy theory. It's propounded by Professor Walter and Gordon. Can we continue?
Yes, let's continue, please.
Okay. If we are to continue, no problem. Just understand the concept, please. This is more than criminal. If you don't understand it, there's no way you get what these people are talking about. So, and in my further explanation on what Miller and Modigliani was trying to bring out from all these their arguments is that they believe that if the company with investment opportunity decision pay a dividend, let's assume I have investment opportunity. So Miller and Modigliani says if a company, M&M, says if a company have investment opportunity of, let's say, 50 million. You get my point? I want you to understand this thing very well. You can see that Miller and Modigliani, what they are saying, when we look at it very well, it is something that is reasonable. So Miller and Modigliani further explain that, imagine if a company is having investment opportunity, if a company having investment, having investment opportunity. Let's assume there is investment opportunity that surface. Probably one company give me a contract that I want to invest, and they have to invest that money, it is 50 million. And that same company now say they have dividend to pay, dividend payout. I want you to follow, please. Are you following at all? Dividend payout. Dividend payout of 50 million. Even though if it is not 50 million, let's say 45 million. Don't let me use the round figure. 45 million. So you can see what Miller and Modigliani is talking about. You have 50 million as your profits, and there is investment opportunity that it is 50 million. It is 45. The investment opportunity that is maybe 50 million. Then there's a dividend that you want to pay to be 45 million. So Miller and Modigliani was saying that why will you now consider payment of dividend as first priority? You must use that money to do investment. Do you get my logic?
Does this mean that if you have less than but in this case they don't have less than now?
Yes,
that
now.
If you're like now, they have 50 million, they want to pay 45 million. That 5 million should be the retained earnings. So in this case, does this still mean that dividend should not be paid?
You cannot pay dividend now because you have investment to invest. You have a project that you need to invest.
Investment of 50 million. Okay. So how will the shareholder now portray the company?
what the shareholders will, because that is why Miller and Modiglani, what they are saying, it is realistic, because he was trying to tell them that you don't need to expose yourself to risk by way of borrow loan, issue new shares, because the area of issue new shares is also warning them that when you issue shares, it can lead to loss of control. So Miller and Modiglani is just trying to tell the company to be on a safer side. That so what you just do is to just spend that dividend that time and invest that money, because if you invest the money, obviously more return will come. Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
It's clear.
So if the company now decided that they don't want to listen to what Miller and Modiglani is telling them, if they go ahead, to pay please hold on for me. So I'm back. Sorry. So if that company, if they go ahead to pay dividend, please hold on for me again, please. Hello, I'm back. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So if the company go ahead to pay this dividend, do you get my point? In Yoruba term, tó bá sori kunkun, tí wọ́n sọ dividend. So if they go ahead to pay this dividend, do you get my point? Hello?
Yes.
Then it means that there won't be sufficient retained earning, right? Because if they pay 45 million, the leftover is just 5 million. So this 5 million is not sufficient enough to carry on this project, yes or no?
Yes.
It's not sufficient.
It's not sufficient. Then what do you think it will happen if the company say they want to invest this thing? Hello? Hello?
Aye.
What will happen if the company now say, oh, we must do this, and what they have as leftover is 5 million? What will now happen?
They have to borrow or issue new share,
So they have to borrow. That is, they will get fund. That is fund from external source. External source. Are you getting this thing gradually?
Yes.
Now, don't forget that this thing that you see, there is a consequence to that. That is why we cannot say consequence. Consequence of getting fund from external source. If you are tired, please let me know. You know me, if I mention one thing now, it will drag me to another thing. Are you still enjoying it?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, please, I want to receive call again. Please hold on. Just give me like 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm back. Sorry. So, consequence of getting fund from external source. Do you get my point now? Because when you now get money from external source, you should be expecting the consequence loss. And that consequence is that one, it will result to loss of value in the existing shares. Any question? Hello?
Please, you can't see the photo.
Is that what?
Don't worry.
What? Okay. Any question on this? So the consequence for you to get that fund from external source is that there will be what? Loss of what? Value in existing shares. Hello?
Aye.
Any question, please? Any question so that we won't waste much of our time.
Let's go ahead, please.
Okay? So this is the consequence that you see. And let's look at the assumption. This assumption is very, very key. It's very, very key. Please take note. Miller and Modigliani assumption is very, very key. What is their assumption? Miller and Modigliani assumption. Number one assumption is that. Number one assumption is that Miller and Modigliani looking from the angle that the company Mila Modigilani look it from the angle that the company will maintain a fixed investment policy. What Mila Modigilani is trying to deduce from this assumption is that, you know, in a company that they've already take the doctrine of if they realize profits, they are not using the entire money to pay dividend. They only that such company normally consider the expansion of the business in their first priority. So if any company is adopting that, so the assumption is that such company will maintain a fixed investment policy. That is, their investment policy will be standout. That it will be in their doctrine that if we made 40 million this year, so obviously, so a certain amount we are going to put it back to the business. We plug it back to the business. So nothing can change that policy because they've already inculcated that policy. That's why we said the company will maintain a fixed. That word fixed, you have to underline it. A fixed investment policy. It will be on there. It's just like let's use ourselves as a case study. That we have a lot of people that if they collect salary, they will say, oh, this salary, I'm going to take 50,000 from me to buy textbook. So you understand? So no matter what, it is your fee something that you are doing that, because I want to be current, I want to be a relevant chartered accountant. So some people have already budgeted that in my salary, I'm going to take certain amount to be purchasing, to be procure textbook every month. The latest version of textbook, will be buying it every month. That is the same thing applicable to what Mila Modigilani is talking about. The assumption is that any company that adopt that doctrine, that whatever profit that we realize, certain portion will be go to investment. So that's going to be our first priority. So such company will be what? Maintain a fixed investment policy. Any question, please?
Go ahead, sir.
Do you have any question, please? It's very, very important. And I said I don't want you to cram anything because you must understand what you are putting down. So if you have any question, feel free to ask your question, please.
Sorry, I need more light on the assumption.
You said what?
I need more light on this assumption.
Okay.
The company will maintain a fixed
investment policy. And I gave you example that my own policy as a person is that no matter what, if I collect my torokobo at the end of the month, there's a certain percentage that I will remove that I want to use it to buy textbook. That's my policy. So it's the same thing when we now relate it to company. If truly the company, they are trying to inculcate what Mila Modigilani is telling them, they should have what is called investment policy. If truly they want to inculcate that, it means that no matter what, even though if they make profit of 20 million, that 20 million, what they will use for investment will be part of it. They will just do it at the board meeting that, out of this 20 million, 5 million will go for investment, 10 million is for dividend, 2 million is for repayment of loan, then the remaining one will serve as our what? As our retained earning. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, go on.
So, another thing is that one of the assumptions that Mila Modigilani is trying to let us know is that if they follow what I said, though, there will be something called risk of uncertainty. Risk of uncertainty. Risk of what? Uncertainty will not exist. So who can tell me what Miller and Modigliani is trying to tell us here? Because I've explained, all my explanation cover these things. I want to know, maybe you are really following.
It means that there won't be panic of the company folding up anytime soon. That
Okay,
going concern is
okay. So in general, they will be free from exposure to risk, right?
Yes, sir.
So risks of uncertainty will not exist because you are not borrowing money. You should not be scared that people will take control of your business. You should not be scared that bank will be chasing you. That if you cannot pay this money, we declare you that we are going to collect all the collateral that you put down. Do you get my point now? Nobody who said don't lay on lady. So it means that risks of uncertainty will not be what exist. So that's the assumption, one of the assumption of Miller and Modigliani. Hello.
Aye.
So another thing that the Miller and Modigliani can also think of is that no associated cost. No associated cost. Who can try this? No associated cost. No associated cost. No associated cost.
no.
Try again.
Is this the end of the sentence? No associated costs.
Yes.
Maybe since they don't borrow, they will not have to pay interest to
Don't
anyone.
bless you. That is what I want to hear. No associated cost. You are not borrowing anything. Nothing like you go and pay interest, go and pay finance cost. No associated cost. Yeah, this is what I want to hear. You are not borrowing anything. So because you are using your retained earnings to finance project, obviously no associated cost. You are not going. Nobody will tell you that go and pay interest. No, OPay will not be calling you. OCash will not be calling you. All this Dominilanta will not be calling you. You get it now. Nobody. So no associated cost. So because you try, let me now put it in such a way that it will now make sense. No associated cost for new investments. It means that if I want to invest a business, I don't need to borrow money to the extent that I will be paying interest. Then I will just use my what? Retained earnings. This is what Miller and Modigliani is trying to let us know. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's clear.
If it is not clear, let me know, please. Oh, you know me, I hate when somebody is cramming something, oh, because when you understand it, I bet you that thing will ask you maneuver. There's no way. When they ask you, you will just maneuver. There's no way. Whatever they ask you, definitely you maneuver yourself. You must understand. So it's easy to say you want to cram something, but do you really understand what you cram? So that is what I said, understand the concept. When you understand the concept, even though if you put this thing down and you want to explain it, it will be very easy for you to explain. Nothing more. There's no how they want to turn it. Once you put it down, if they ask you that list and explain, you should be able to explain it. Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
So, another thing that Miller and Modigliani is trying to tell us is that there is a perfect certainty. Perfect certainty. There's a perfect certainty by every investor there's a there's a what perfect certainty by every investor as to future investment, and what's it called? Profits, future investment, and the profit of the company. Who can try what I'm trying to bring out here? Who can try? Who can try? I want man. It is lady. I want our daddy in the house. They should try this as well. Perfect certainty by every investor. Every investor as to future investment and profit of the company. That person should talk.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Maybe as at the end of the sharing of the profit,
Okay.
maybe they will all share it together as an investors. So the profit of the company will all be shared together.
The shareholder will get.
Okay. Okay.
The shareholder will get.
What you just said, I pick a point there. Another person should try as well.
It means the investor will get their money at the end of the business, and the company will also get their profits at the end of the business.
Okay, so if what you just said as well, I pick a point. Another person should try again. Let me see.
Yeah.
So that we link everything
Please, to
together.
my understanding, please.
Okay.
The perfect certainty means that when the company does not involve in borrowing for their future investment, so that means their profit will be shared in accordance with the amount of shares of the shareholders.
Well, I deduce from there as well, because even though if they borrow, they will repay, they will make profits, at the same time they will share. Fine. Another person should also try. I'm getting fat from everybody.
Okay. It means that the investors, they have perfect understanding of future investment and the profit that will come from their investment in that company, because
That's what explains everything. What all these people said, they are also in line. But what he just explained everything is that the word of that investor, they know that what Miller and Modigliani was saying, it is true. That don't let us use all the money for dividend alone. Let us invest so that the future, look at it. You know, when they invest, they will make money. And at the same time, that dividend that they're supposed to pay them, not that they will not pay them more, they are still going to pay. That investment that they did, they will make profit again, they will still pay them. But what if they now use the whole money to pay dividend, and there's investment opportunity that came up, they don't have money to do that business. Where are they going to see dividend again for the next coming year? Although some companies are paid dividend twice in a year, when we have what is called interim dividend and final dividend. Take note of that. Dividend can be paid twice in a year. It could be the first one, we call it interim dividend, and the last one we call it final dividend. So hope you understand what this sentence is talking about now. To the full one. What every other people said is actually correct. But what explains it further is that the investor will understand the future investment, that we don't need to rush. So it means that from my own, though I've not explained what supremacy theory is all about to you, but for everything that we just see according to what Miller and Modigliani is telling us, I believe that is something that is okay and reasonable. Is that not?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. So hope we are not tired. Hope we are not tired, though. If we are tired,
They are not. They are
I'm
not.
not. I don't know about you.
Hello.
hello, I'm with
You
you.
can, you can say all what Miller and Modigliani is saying, they are perfect, but it depends on the type of the investor.
Yes, it depends.
So
You know, some investor, they will want dividend to be paid.
that is it.
Yes, but what actually happen is that those people, those investors that want dividend to be paid, in real sense, they are just looking at their own purchasing power. They are looking at their own purchasing power. They are looking from the angle of, even though if the business want to collapse, the business should collapse. But in practice, if we want to look at it thoroughly, we should adopt what Miller and Modigliani was saying. So some investor believe that, oh, let dividend be paid. Though me, I don't support that. I must collect dividend. Though it's because of that purchasing power.
That's Gordon model.
Yes, that's what Gordon is trying to look at it. That's what I said. When we move to calculation aspect of it, we are going to understand the rudiments of everything. Just that we cannot just go to calculation and be doing it. At the end of the day, some people will just be cramming formula, and you understand. But if we understand the risk factor of all the everything that surrounds the dividend decision, you don't have any issue at all. Hope we are good to go. Are we tired?
Go
No,
on, sir.
continue.
You
So
are not tired. I'm tired.
another thing is that if you look at in the era of no tax, that's what I say in the world. In the era of no tax, even though if there is tax, because they work together. So in the era of no tax, even though if how will I spell this? If there is if there is a taxation in the era of no tax, even though if there is a taxation, it means that the same. That's what Miller and Modigliani was trying to look at. That because some people will say, I want of taxation. So Miller and Modigliani now say in assumption that in the era of no tax, even though if there's a taxation, so the same rate the same rate will be applicable. Will be applicable to the is there any space here again? Okay, to the capital gain and dividend income. Dividend income. Look at what Modigliani was trying to use for them so that they won't rush. Because if you are talking about capital gain, you get my point now. And you are talking of dividend income. Modigliani are telling you that even though if you are rushing that dividend should go, the same tax that they are going to apply to capital gain is that same tax that will apply to dividend income. That's what Miller and Modigliani was saying, that even though in the era of no tax, even though if there is a taxation, even though if they want to apply tax, whatever they will apply as tax to this capital gain, that, oh, let us invest that money and see capital gain. And also, if you look at it from the angle of, oh, dividend must go, is the same taxation that they are going to apply to them. So these are the assumptions that Miller, Modigliani and Miller was telling us about dividend policy. Is it clear? Is it clear? Oh?
It is clear, Ogawa.
So let's now move to this. This. I said this is what? Dividend supremacy. Theory. If you are tired, let me know. Me, I don't easily tire like that though. I can only be checking my my laptop battery to see whether it can sustain us. And even though I cannot finish, I can still reschedule this class in the evening. Maybe in the night, I can reschedule it so that I can cover this topic fully. Both the calculation part of it, I can cover it fully. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. It's good like that.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead, please.
Sorry, are you rounding up?
No.
I have a question. Emma Bruno.
Go ahead, please.
Is it the topic? Is it Miller and multidisciplinary? Because I just entered this absorption side.
No. The topic is here. Dividend policy.
Dividend policy. Okay. Okay. I will still contact those people online that has joined earlier on, so they will explain for me. So don't let me to take you back.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
So, dividend supremacy theory. So, this theory, so I'm coming. Just give me 2 minutes, please.
Hello, Alhaji.
Mo wà pẹ̀lú yín mà.
Hello. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ fún wa nóòtù ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ kíláàsì síwájú wa o.
So I'm back. Please, what happened is let's suspend this class. I have a visitor, so I will schedule this later. Please.
Okay, thank you, Oga.
All right. So if you have any question, you can just chat me truly. Then no issue. Thank you. God bless
Thank
you.
you
So
so much.
anytime when my visitor is, maybe we finish what we are doing, then I will get back to you guys. We can schedule the convenient time so that we can continue.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All right, you are welcome.
All right.